Hello everybody. Welcome back to the channel where we talk about stuff. I'll give you the backwards and I'll give you the forwards. It's gonna be, I think, a bit of a crazy video simply because there's so much to say and I've been trying to place it in my head, so here we go. A number of years ago, the issue or situation is that China basically had control over nearly the entirety of the cryptocurrency space. A lot of people were random. I mean, the excess amount of nonsense that was flowing through the space because of the idea that China was controlling the market and or had too much sway when it came to cryptocurrency mining. That's when we got news that basically a lot of people within China were actually choosing to use Bitcoin and also Tether back then, let us not forget, as opposed to even using their local currencies. Then we got news that China was going to ban Bitcoin, and then we got news that China had banned Bitcoin. For those of you who do not know or are simply unaware, China has not banned Bitcoin. They've banned cryptocurrency day trading and using Bitcoin as a form of currency. So you cannot buy things with Bitcoin and you cannot day trade with it. You can trade it, but you have to go to an OTC over the counter. They look like a store. You walk in, you have to present your ID and you have to tell them, hey, I want to buy this amount of Bitcoin. You get your Bitcoin, and when you sell it, you can only sell it through these actual platforms. And Bitcoin mining is also legal within China, but rumors have it that you kind of have to have a friend in the government. This is what we've heard from the outside looking in. So for the last 4 or 5 or 6 years, that's been kind of the narrative that China is completely anti-Bitcoin. And I think you'd have to be a near idiot to think that. If you think that every other country in the planet is accumulating Bitcoin and mining Bitcoin, and I mean, there's still a lot of Bitcoin mining within China, to think that they're not also into Bitcoin is kind of redonkulous, is the word that I'm going to use there. We also know that the US has a huge amount of Bitcoin, regardless of if any of it has moved onto Coinbase. The world leaders know exactly what's going on. They're not oblivious to these things. That was also a really weird narrative back in 2017, 18, in the beginning of 2019, is that governments and banks would never touch crypto because it was decentralized. Why would I do, the governments don't want it. They can't control it. And it's like, no, they're also buying a lot as well. Bringing it back to the topic around the end of 2022, the beginning of 2023, we started having rumors that China was going to get friendly with Bitcoin again. This actually trickled down literally to Hong Kong, where rumors began that Hong Kong was basically going to be like a sandbox, if you will, so that government leaders could look into the sandbox and see if things kind of got out of control. So people could deal in crypto, do whatever they wanted in crypto. And basically, if things got more insane than the government leaders wanted it to get, they could kind of shut the whole thing down. That was the idea. So you might remember last January 2023, we had a lot of news from people from Hong Kong who were saying that they were going to start regulating crypto. And it was a major thing because they did it exactly on the date that they said. They said at the beginning of June in 2023, they would regulate cryptocurrencies. And I was like, oh, so that's how it's done? So regulators actually regulate and they don't take 15 years like the US SEC? Well, that's completely weird. And then that transformed into this idea that people can trade crypto there. There were a lot of other companies who were trying to do business there. We had news about people who were filing these applications and all these other things to be able to work there and get their stuff kind of going. So the narrative has once again lightly shifted back to the idea that China is looking to get into crypto without getting into crypto. Because from what we've heard by reports is that apparently, allegedly, a lot of people are literally just taking a train down from China through the border into Hong Kong, and then they're able to deal in crypto as they so wish. We also started getting a lot of rumors that a lot of derivatives and other forms of securities would be passed through the new Hong Kong law to be able to allow people in Hong Kong, I told you it'd be very chaotic, to have other ways to be able to trade crypto as well. So this news came out and it was relatively breezed over. I don't know why news like this is constantly breezed over and everyone's just exclusively focused on BlackRock. For those of you who missed it a couple days ago, we heard that there are banks in Germany once again who are getting into Bitcoin. There's a spot Bitcoin and Ethereum ETF that have both been listed on the German stock exchange. There was something happening with ETFs in Australia, and I think the Philippines is also trying to get Bitcoin ETFs as well, and something about the ones in London. There were also just ones listed on is it called the London Stock Exchange? I have no idea, as well. So I assumed people would get more hyped for the idea of other ETFs launching, because for those of you who don't know, money flows into these things as well. I mentioned that a couple videos ago. One of the really weird things right now is that people keep pretending that BlackRock is the only company that has money, and therefore they're the only one that actually matters. So when you hear that there are other companies who are getting into the space and they have inflows of money for their Bitcoin ETFs of 10, 15, 20 million dollars per day, it doesn't seem like as luxurious and special, but it's still completely insane because that's a huge amount of Bitcoin that's also being taken off of the table. So now we got to the beginning. I had to give you the back so I can give you the forward so you really understand why this news is significant, and it's not simply like, okay, well, cool, let them do it. There are two companies. One is called Harvest Fund, and the other one is called China Southern Fund. And you guessed it, they have applied within Hong Kong to actually have Bitcoin ETFs launched. The article, this one in particular, if you want to read it, it's in the description below. I don't know what's wrong with people and numbers, simply because, do you remember when we heard that so when the prices dipped about a good 10 or so days ago, I don't know the amount of time, when prices dipped before, and we were hearing, I remember telling you, a lot of the news was like, oh no, is Bitcoin done? There is no money flowing into the markets. We heard that the inflows had gone from several hundred million to, I think, only 120 million on one of the days. And that was supposed to be like this really weird negative bearish news. And it's like, no, that's still $120 million flowing into the ETFs. This article in particular is also one of them. It says, despite a recent slowdown in ETF investments within the United States, apparently weekly inflows through the ETFs dropped dramatically from 862 million to just $646 million. Terrible, right? And that's, I try to be nice a lot of times when I make videos, when I say stuff like that, but I really don't know if people can count. You know that even if there was, I said it before, if there was just $1 million, if there was just $1 million per day flowing into these ETFs, that's still $1 million worth of Bitcoin that's taken off of the table every 24 hours. To have a drop to only $646 million, that's a lot. You understand how numbers are. So the way that all the Hong Kong news has worked is that we hear that something's going to happen, and then it ends up happening. I know that sounds very simple, but they seem to be very cut and dry as far as not releasing news with things that are going to happen, or we have to hear from their version of Gary Gensler, then it takes a very long time. No, Hong Kong has been very straightforward, nonstop, over and over. So I give it 2 months, maybe even less, until we hear about a lot of these things. A lot of other countries who are announcing that they're now going over applications for ETFs within their countries as well for Bitcoin. I think the general time frame that we've gotten is the beginning of May or the end of May for nearly all of them. I guess they're trying to, match the timing relatively with the halving and all the madness that is going to ensue. But yeah, multiple other countries are starting paperwork for, people are applying for, and are launching their ETFs. For those of you who don't know the reason why they want their own ETFs, it kind of has to do with the idea that a lot of other countries a couple of weeks ago announced that they, in nicest terms, they did not want BlackRock's ETF in their country, simply because a lot of the fees would be flowing exclusively back to BlackRock. So we've seen a lot of countries creating their own ETFs and or other companies within these countries who are creating them so that it kind of, the money stays and flows within their ecosystem. Because you don't really need to make BlackRock any richer. I don't know how to put that into other words. But yeah, Harvest Fund and China Southern Fund are looking to launch Bitcoin ETFs within Hong Kong. When they launch, we're going to hear about it. Tons of money is going to flow into them because I don't know if you know, Hong Kong's also very rich, like rich. So yeah, I think that's going to do it for this video. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.